Real Health Transformations is a podcast for the woman I once was and the woman I'm still becoming. It's for the new mom trusting her instincts, the seasoned mom questioning the science, and the party girl ready to trade Sunday scaries for sourdough starters. It's for the woman who's wrestled with weight, trauma, chronic illness, and the struggle to find balance in motherhood, career, and life. I'm your host, Holly Jean Mullen, a functional wellness practitioner and holistic real estate specialist. You are the expert on your body, and this show is here to help you cut through the BS, connect the dots between your health and your home, and find simple strategies that actually work for you. We'll have real conversations that matter, challenge the status quo, and keep it simple. If you're craving a calmer home, a clearer mind, or a healthier body, you're in the right place for real solutions, real encouragement, and real transformation. Hello. Welcome back to Real Health Transformations. In today's episode, we are building on the foundation laid in last week's episode on our discussion on blood sugar and insulin balance, insulin resistance. These issues are not only central to metabolic health, but they impact nearly every aspect of wellness. So if you think blood sugar issues don't affect you, think again. Au contraire, mon frère, as my husband likes to say. We talked about how these imbalances in blood sugar can be at the root of many health concerns, and insulin resistance is a significant but often overlooked issue in women's health. And even women who aren't visibly overweight can suffer from insulin resistance, which is a contributing factor to conditions like PCOS and infertility. Dietary changes that we'll talk more about today, but dietary changes such as adopting a low-carb or ketogenic diet, that can greatly improve insulin sensitivity, which is going to then support better hormone balance and better overall health. So in today's episode, what I want to talk about today is exploring how a ketogenic diet can serve as a therapeutic powerhouse for healing at the cellular level by tapping into our body's natural ability to switch between fuel sources for optimal health. Fuel sources meaning glucose and ketones. Now, when I say healing at the cellular level, I want to talk about what that is, because I think there is some talk online these days. I'm seeing more mentions of healing the cell or cellular healing type of stuff, but it's a little bit vague as to what that means. And we know the body is built up of cells, so it makes sense that if we want to heal the body, that, we want to look at the cells, because maybe that's where we need to start. So when we're talking about healing at the cellular level, it's about going deep to restore the foundation of our very health, and that is our cells. When we're focusing on cellular healing, it's not just symptoms. So this kind of is where root cause, foundational health comes in, right? It's looking at the root causes of dysfunction by giving your cells nutrients and support in the environment that they need to thrive. And this means reducing inflammation, supporting detoxification, optimizing mitochondrial function, which in turn can lead to lasting improvements and overall health. Now, a ketogenic diet can be a therapeutic powerhouse, as I mentioned, because it shifts the body into a fat-burning state that reduces oxidative stress, it can lower inflammation, and it enhances mitochondrial efficiency. This sounds like great stuff, right? So by fueling the body with clean source of steady energy from ketones, a ketogenic diet can empower our cells, give our cells what they need to be able to repair, regenerate, and function at their best. And that is what's going to really pave the way for healing literally from the inside out. And we are facing a serious health crisis in this country. And there's no issue more critical right now than reversing the chronic disease epidemic. Addressing this challenge head on is essential for the future of our collective well-being. If your pet fish is swimming around in dirty water with grime on the rocks and slimy walls, you don't give the fish drugs and medication to keep the fish healthy, right? You're going to clean out the water and you're going to clean the tank. Ketosis is the body's tank cleaning system, essentially. We all have it. It is a function of our biological design. It is our body's innate intelligence, perfectly created without flaw. Before we dive in, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting in this episode that everyone should be on a keto diet all the time. As I've said before, I hope I've made it clear by now, bioindividuality is key. What works for one person may not work for another. However, I do believe that our bodies are naturally designed to move in and out of ketosis. This metabolic flexibility is a crucial part of our being. It is crucial for improving our overall metabolic health and in reversing disease trends. Being able to enter ketosis when needed is an important tool in our health arsenal, and it's something that everyone should be capable of practicing as part of a broader strategy for long-term wellness. Something real hot right now, so hot right now, is this recent interview with Tucker Carlson and Casey and Callie Means. They pulled back the curtain on some of the most alarming issues within the pharmaceutical and food industries. Casey is a Stanford-trained surgeon, and Callie is a former lobbyist, and they walked away from their high-powered careers after realizing just how deeply these industries are harming public health. So they have exposed how big pharma and big food have not only manipulated government agencies, but also crafted public health guidelines that make processed foods more addictive and prioritize medications over lifestyle changes. This is not news to a lot of you, but this interview is generating a lot of talk. Their conversation has been a wake-up call about the connections between the surge in chronic diseases like obesity and diabetes and the influence these industries have on our food and medical practices. One of the most shocking points they made was about the deceptive marketing of processed foods, especially those loaded with seed oils, which are touted as healthy, but actually they fuel inflammation. They fuel metabolic issues. They also criticized the widespread prescription drugs like Ozempic, which they are arguing that they only mask the symptoms of this bigger problem of metabolic health, which is what we're going to talk about today, instead of tackling the root cause, which is true. And I think there's definitely more to that whole conversation, but it's great that this conversation is being had. What really stood out was their call for a new shift in how we approach healthcare, a shift that moves away from treating symptoms with just drugging people up. We need to instead focus on prevention and holistic health. This is the thing I've been shouting from the rooftops for my whole career since I've been in this space. Their message was clear, and I am echoing it with them. It is time to take control of our health by questioning mainstream advice and seeking out root cause solutions. So the Mean siblings, they also touched on a fundamental concept and the way we derive energy from food. And this is going to be important and relevant in our conversation on keto today. But they explained that plants convert sunlight into energy through photosynthesis. We all learned about this in grade school. When we eat those plants or the animals that consume the plants, we are supposed to harness that energy to fuel our bodies. But our modern agricultural practices, the rise of processed foods, have compromised this process within us. The overuse of chemicals in farming and the nutrient stripping methods of food processing have left us with foods that are less nourishing than they were originally designed to be. They are degrading our food quality, and this combination of a lesser food combined with this constant exposure that we have to environmental toxins is preventing our body from functioning optimally. It's leading to widespread health problems like chronic fatigue and metabolic disorders. Their conversation was more than just eye-opening. It was a powerful reminder of the importance of whole, unprocessed foods and a more natural approach to health. It aligns perfectly with the principles of a ketogenic diet, which not only emphasize the whole foods, but it supports the body's natural detoxification process by promoting fat burning, where we store our toxins. That's where we store our toxins in our fat cells. So by embracing a way of eating, a diet, and a lifestyle that respects our body's natural energy pathways, we can start to heal at the cellular level and reclaim our health from the inside out. So their conversation was incredibly relevant, incredibly important, and I feel just perfect timing for this episode that I already had planned. So I'm going to roll with it. This episode is not going to be a step-by-step guide on how to do keto, but I will post some of my favorite resources for getting started in the show notes. And I will talk a little bit about getting started at the end of this episode, but my focus today is to convey more of the profound healing benefits that a ketogenic diet can offer, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there, but the benefits for our bodies, our brains, our mitochondria, our fertility, our DNA, and ultimately our health, our overall health, our mental health, our mood, and our happiness, this can all be found through ketosis. And so that's what I want to focus on today, is the benefits of it, like the why we were designed with our body's ability to do this. It's for a purpose, and we have lost it. We're no longer tapping into this like we're supposed to. And it's a gift, it's a resource, and it's a tool for us, and we need to know how to use it. So that's what I want to talk about. So that is that. Let's get going. First, I want to just start by saying a fun fact. Share a fun fact. You might not know this, but babies naturally enter a state of ketosis shortly after birth, especially if they are breastfed. Did you know this? Not a lot of people do. We are naturally born with the ability to get into ketosis, if not born in ketosis. Breast milk is high in fat, low in carbs. It's promoting the production of ketones. These ketones provide a source of energy for the brain and other organs, particularly during fasting periods between feedings. This metabolic state is not just beneficial for growing babies, but it's essential for their brain development. And this just illustrates the fact that ketosis is a natural and advantageous condition, especially early in life. Now, being in ketosis 24/7 is not necessary, and that's not what I'm saying we need to do, but we need to have that ability to switch between fuel sources, glucose and ketones. This is a fundamental marker of our metabolic health. And this metabolic flexibility, you may be familiar with that term or have heard that term because people use it a lot. This metabolic flexibility allows our bodies to adapt to different conditions, whether we're fasting, and whether that fasting is an extended fast or if it's just going from breakfast to lunch or lunch to dinner. Like we're not eating between those times. So times when you're not eating. So whether you're fasting, exercising, or simply going about our day, we should be able to tap into ketones as a fuel source. However, not everyone's body handles the transition equally, and several factors, including genetics and lifestyle, play a significant role in how efficiently we're able to switch between fuel sources. Research shows that national origin can significantly influence how our bodies respond to our modern diets and how our bodies are able to maintain or not maintain metabolic health. For example, I think this was really interesting. I heard Dr. Ben Bickman explaining this on a podcast, but he was saying people from Asian backgrounds, such as those from like China or India, they are more likely to develop conditions like type 2 diabetes at lower levels of body fat compared to those of European descent. Meaning me, someone of European descent, cracker Caucasians, we have the ability to consume more foods that would be metabolically damaging, and we could take on more before we're having disease develop. Whereas if someone from China or India were to be eating the same exact foods, they would see disease earlier and at lower body fat levels than someone of European descent. That's what that's saying. It's like we're not apples to apples. Our body composition, our genetic factors play a role too. And it's due to a combination of those genetic factors, but it's also due to traditional diets and how our bodies have adapted to those things over generations. Similar to those with Asian backgrounds, people with Hispanic or Latin backgrounds or Latin cultures, they also face unique challenges when it comes to metabolic health too, with Hispanic populations having a higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes or obesity, also due to genetic factors that make them more prone to insulin resistance. So there are things going on in our genes that do play a role. And we can't deny those, but also, regardless of where our ancestors come from, one thing is universal. Our bodies, from birth, are naturally designed to be able to use ketones for fuel and glucose for fuel. We're designed to be able to enter ketosis efficiently. And if we struggle to achieve this state, no matter where we come from, it may indicate insulin resistance or metabolic inflexibility, but it is a sign that we need to pay attention to. It's a sign that our body's not functioning optimally or as it was designed to. And we need to pay attention to that and make some changes. A ketogenic diet is more than a weight loss tool. And I know that's what it is very popular for and what it's used for, because it's absolutely fabulous at that. But that's not all it is. It's definitely more than just drinking butter coffee. It's more than eating fat bombs. It is a strategy for enhancing metabolic health, for reducing inflammation, and for supporting cellular function. I've seen a ketogenic diet be used to reverse a very long list of symptoms and diseases. And while there's plenty of debate around ketosis, when it's done correctly, it is an effective way to improve mental clarity, physical performance, and overall metabolic health. I mentioned Dr. Bickman earlier, but there is something else he said. He was saying in his book, Why We Get Sick, fabulous book if you're looking for a new read. I'll back up. Dr. Ben Bickman, I'm talking like you know who he is. It's because I'm like fangirling him. I just assume everybody knows who he is. But he is a leading expert in the field of metabolic health. And his book, Why We Get Sick, is fantastic. So pick that up if you don't have it, or if you want to dive deeper into this area of metabolic health, specifically insulin resistance and ketosis, because they go hand in hand, especially in the way he presents them. But anyways, he talks about how only 12% of Americans are metabolically fit. That is not very many. Not very many at all. And this is not just a national issue, but this is a global issue. In many countries, like, the rates of metabolic dysfunction are even worse. And at the root cause of why it's so bad is what we eat and how often we eat. The overconsumption of refined carbohydrates and the frequent meals is what's keeping insulin chronically elevated, and that is leading to insulin resistance, and that is going to be at the heart of many of our chronic diseases, like our type 2 diabetes, our heart disease, even some cancers. Our ancestors frequently relied on ketosis for survival, especially during times of food scarcity. Before the advent of agriculture, humans were hunter-gatherers, and their diets were often low in carbohydrates and high in fats and high in proteins, because these were the things that were available. During periods when food was scarce or during long hunts, our bodies naturally entered a state of ketosis, where we were burning stored fat for energy. This is something also where our bodies stored fat in the seasons of spring and summer, because going into the winter is traditionally a time of fasting when food is less available. It's more scarce. So in the spring and the summer, when foods are more abundant, there's going to be more berries and fruits and more things around. That is designed to put fat on our body to get us through a fasting winter of ketosis. That is how it's designed. Our world no longer looks like that. We are now continually in a fed state, and that is where we're running into problems. Ketosis, in essence, is a vital adaptation for survival. It's essential for us to endure the challenges of life, especially from our hunter-gatherer lifestyles. And this historical reliance on ketosis just kind of underscores its role as a natural and beneficial metabolic state that our bodies are well equipped to handle. And we're not so well equipped to handle it anymore because we are so metabolically inflexible. But we're going to talk about how we can fix that today. In ketosis, your body is burning fat efficiently, even at rest. And that is going to support our mental and physical health, but it's also going to play a role in reducing inflammation and promoting our cellular repair. Now, I touched on that a little bit. Now, we can infer that ketosis and metabolic flexibility are valuable adaptations, especially in times of economic and political instability. So just as our ancestors relied on these metabolic states to survive, unpredictable environments and food shortages, being able to efficiently switch between fuel sources, today can be a powerful tool for resilience in uncertain times when access to consistent, high-quality nutrition may be compromised, when there are threats to our food systems. We have this built-in ability for survival. We have the ability to thrive on stored energy through ketosis, and that can be crucial for maintaining health and vitality in tough times. So I'm just throwing that little nugget out there because I think sometimes we forget just how dependent we are on others and on systems to provide food for us. I will leave it at that. One of the most transformative effects of ketosis is its ability to greatly improve insulin sensitivity. And by shifting your body's fuel source from glucose to fat, ketosis eases the burden on your pancreas, which leads to lower insulin levels in the blood. And this shift helps us kind of reset our cells and how our cells can respond to insulin. If you remember from last week, we talked about the egg carton and how when we keep eating carbs or glucose, it's like trying to fit more eggs in an already full egg carton. And the only thing to do is either stop trying to put more eggs in or to get a bigger carton, right? So one of the things ketosis does is it helps both ways. It helps by it stops putting eggs in the carton, but it also helps make our carton bigger because it is helping our cells. It's helping our blood clear out some of the eggs that are in there. It helps make our capacity to take on more efficient. This ripple effect, it enhances this insulin sensitivity. The ripple effect of that is profound. It supports weight management. It lowers our risk of these chronic conditions that we keep talking about. And so we really need to master this insulin regulation through ketosis, because that can really help us lay a foundation for these metabolic health and for our long-term wellness. You may have heard the expression of inflammation being a major driver behind chronic diseases, such as heart disease and cancer and neurodegenerative disorders. Ketosis lowers inflammation in the body, and it also boosts mitochondrial health, and it promotes cellular repair. And therefore, we're lowering our risks of these diseases as well, and it's enhancing our overall vitality. On the flip side of that coin, when we're having a diet rich in refined carbs or unhealthy fats, these are things that are going to fuel inflammation. When we can bring in a ketogenic approach that can stabilize insulin, minimize oxidative stress, it's going to provide more balanced and a more healthy internal environment. I have to highlight the importance of meal timing and fasting when it comes to improving metabolic health, because extended periods of low insulin through intermittent fasting, now whether that's by skipping breakfast or eating an earlier dinner, that can significantly boost insulin sensitivity, also enhance fat burning. The strategy kind of dovetails perfectly with the ketogenic diet, which is also going to naturally suppress hunger and support longer fasting windows. It's going to make it easier to achieve your fasting goals and your intermittent fasting goals. Now. I know there's a lot of misinformation out there about keto and fasting, and a lot of online sources getting loud about who shouldn't do keto, who shouldn't fast, who shouldn't do intermittent fasting. But before you start letting your brain should all over yourself, as I'm guessing your red flags or alarm bells might be triggered right now, let's address some myths and get some clarity around some of these things. Let's do some myth busting. Is that show still on? That was fun. Mythbusters. Let's dive a little deeper into the area that keto and fasting aren't suitable for women, because I feel this getting kind of loud online right now. And it's funny, the trends of what goes in and out of fashion when it comes to health online, because keto used to be like so popular, you guys. And then like it's kind of fallen out of trend. And on like the other side of that pendulum now, it's like, oh, women need to eat carbs. Oh, women shouldn't be fasting. That mantra is getting louder. Now, I hear it a lot. The reality is it's more nuanced. Yes, women's hormonal systems are delicate, but that doesn't mean keto and fasting aren't for us. It just means they need to be approached thoughtfully. Women have this incredible ability to adapt, especially when it comes to our metabolism and hormones. The key is to work with your body, not against it. And that's where our cycles come in, syncing with our cycles. It's this beautiful rhythm. And it's like, we just need to flow with the flow. not go with the flow. We can flow with the flow, sync the cycle. If we can align keto and our fasting practices with our menstrual cycle, then we can actually support hormonal health rather than disrupt it. For example, during the first half of your cycle, you might feel great on lower carbs and longer fasting windows. But as you approach your period, your body might benefit from a few more carbs and shorter fasts, or maybe no fast. This approach is going to help with weight management and insulin sensitivity, but it's also going to keep your hormones in balance. For women who no longer have menstrual cycles, like those in menopause or postmenopause, keto and fasting can still be incredibly beneficial. It doesn't mean you get to be left out. No. Everyone gets to sit at the table here. Even without a cycle or with irregular cycles, the principles of metabolic flexibility and hormone balance, they still apply. And the focus shifts more towards supporting overall hormone health, particularly managing insulin levels, around reducing inflammation, maintaining a healthy weight. Without a menstrual cycle as a guide, we have to tune into other body signals as a guide, because our body's always giving us signals. You'll definitely want to download my free body wisdom journal. You want to track symptoms like energy levels, sleep quality, mood stability, your hunger cues. These become the markers for adjusting your approach. That's true whether you're cycling or not. But for example, if you're feeling fatigued or if you start to experience sleep disturbances, you might need to adjust your fasting windows or increase your nutrient intake, especially around fats and proteins. But the beauty of this stage of life is that you have more consistency in your daily rhythms, which can make it easier to implement and even sustain these practices of keto and fasting. In my practice, I work closely with clients in all stages, but more importantly, to just really personalize what a keto and diet variation fasting strategy can look like to align with an individual's unique needs. Because I want everyone to feel vibrant and healthy no matter what chapter of life they are in. So no matter what stage or season of life, I'm always making sure to customize plans for each client, because it's not about following a set of rigid rules. It's about listening to your body and making adjustments that align with your unique needs. And whether it's incorporating feast days or adjusting carb intake during certain phases of your cycle, the goal is to use these tools in a way that enhance your well-being without adding stress or imbalance, right? We want it to be a personalized approach. That's what makes all the difference. Turning keto and fasting into powerful allies. These can be allies and tools for women's health. And it just really annoys me when I see all the time that, no, women need carbs. No, women can't fast. No, keto is bad, because it's not true. It's not true. The idea that women must rely on carbs and avoid fasting is not just outdated, it's damaging. This narrative, it undermines our potential to take control of our health, especially when we're facing a surge in metabolic disorders, blood sugar imbalances, and inflammation-driven diseases. And by clinging to these misconceptions, we're limiting our ability to achieve true metabolic flexibility and well-being. And it's time to break free from these harmful myths and empower ourselves with the knowledge that support our health rather than hinder it. I would say period rant over, but I think I'm going to snowball it into more of a rant. I'm feeling inspired right now. So here it goes. We have to change the trajectory of health in this world. And it starts with us, in ourselves, in our own families, in our homes. And ketosis is a powerful tool for cellular regeneration and improving our overall health. And when the body is in ketosis, it can more effectively clear out old damaged cells through a process called autophagy. This cellular cleanup, it's not just crucial for individual health, but it has broader implications for humanity. It truly does. And understanding the role of ketosis in improving mitochondrial function and reducing inflammation, it isn't just about personal health. It's about the future health of our children and the generations to come. As adults, especially as mothers, we have the power to influence the health trajectories of our families by making conscious choices that lower our risk of chronic disease. These alarming statistics I pulled from that same Tucker Carlson interview that I mentioned earlier. 50% of Americans have prediabetes. 30% of teens are pre-diabetic. In 1950, only 1% of Americans had type 2 diabetes. And today that number is just staggering. 18% of teens right now have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That used to be unheard of in an age group that young. That's a disease for old people. All right? There's zero reason why teens should be having that. 26% of women suffer from PCOS. PCOS is a leading cause of infertility. Infertility rates have been increasing by 1% annually since the 1970s. These are problem numbers. These numbers point a bleak picture of the current and future state of public health. This doesn't have to be set in stone, though, guys. We can make changes. If we collectively could embrace practices like ketosis, which can help our bodies function optimally, we can break the cycle of declining health. We can take responsibility for our own metabolic health. We don't just improve our lives. We set a new standard of wellness that can influence and benefit our children and their children. And the changes we make today, those are the foundation for a healthier future, a healthier tomorrow, the next generation. Nothing changes if we aren't willing to change our own lives to lower our risk of disease. So that's my rant there. Next week, on episode 10, I'm talking to a scientist about epigenetics and how our diet and lifestyle choices influence how our genes express themselves. So you want to tune in for that because it's encouraging, not depressing like what I just shared. It's encouraging to know how much control and power we actually do have over our health outcomes and longevity. Life is not happening to us. We are not victims of chance and happenstance. We actually have more control than you think. And ketones are like the secret sauce for health. They offer a range of benefits that can transform your well-being. And the show is all about real health transformations. When your body enters ketosis, it starts producing ketones. So ketones, I don't even think I've even said what they are, but they are a cleaner, more efficient fuel than glucose. So this shift can lead to enhanced mental clarity because your brain thrives on ketones. And that's why babies can be in ketosis because their brains need to have like optimal fuel. Ketones give us a sharper focus. They make us feel like we have this sense of mental agility. I can feel my body kick into ketosis. I couldn't before, like in my younger years when I used to do keto a lot, I couldn't feel it, but I'm like much more in tune with my body now. And I can feel when that switch flips. And it's awesome. So awesome. I will tell you, the energy is unreal. And the last time my mother-in-law was here at the beginning of the summer, I was in ketosis and I was cleaning my house like a mad woman. Like I was going through and I was like cleaning out closets and reorganizing things. And I was just buzzing around here, all sorts of energy cleaning, so much so that she asked me if I was pregnant. I'm not pregnant, but that's the level of energy I had. I was just going for it. So ketosis, ketones, they're amazing, amazing for your brain, amazing for your energy. There are anecdotal reports coming out that suggests some nonverbal autistic children have shown improvements in speech and communication skills while on a ketogenic diet. You've probably heard the benefits of a ketogenic diet in terms of epilepsy. People that say that keto was actually created for epilepsy, but keto was actually first created for diabetes. I don't know where the crossover or how that got changed, but ketogenic diets have always been therapeutic healing diets. They are also a natural state in which we should be able to go in and out of. Okay. I know I said I'm not like pitching my tent in the keto camp, but it probably sounds like I am. And yes, clearly I'm a huge fan, but I don't live in keto campground. Okay. It's a nice place to visit. This isn't where you live. There's a difference between eating keto friendly and actually being in ketosis. And I will give an example. I hear this all the time. When I take on new clients, I'm always asking them, one of the first questions is, how are you eating? Describe your daily meals to me. Tell me about your diet. It's a normal question, right? I'm a nutritional therapist. I'm asking people about food. I hear a lot of people say, I eat mostly keto-ish, or I'm low carb-ish, but keto-ish is probably the funniest one. And that's why I'm saying this. It's funny because you're not keto-ish. Keto isn't a diet. And I just need to get that through your mind. Like, keto is not a diet. Keto is a metabolic state. So you don't eat keto. You are either in ketosis or you not. And we can eat a ketogenic diet for the purpose of getting into ketosis and maintaining a state of ketosis. But the purpose is not the diet. The purpose is the metabolic state. Does that make sense? I hope I articulated that clearly, because I'm putting less emphasis on the diet part and more emphasis on the metabolic state, because you can't be mostly keto. You either are or you aren't. You are either in ketosis or you are not. And if you are mostly eating a keto type of diet, you may never ever be getting into ketosis. You can eat low carb. It doesn't mean your body's in ketosis. Achieving and maintaining ketosis is the key to unlocking the full metabolic benefits, such as like improving the insulin sensitivity, improving the mitochondrial health, and achieving the cellular repair. Low carb is not ketosis. Carnivore is not ketosis. Paleo is not ketosis. Keto-ish is not ketosis. Keto is the physical, real-time metabolic state of being in ketosis. You can eat low carb and still be a sugar burner. In fact, this is what I see in my practice most of the time. Many clients come in eating what they would consider a healthy low carb diet, yet they aren't seeing results on the scale. They're not seeing improvements in their hormones. They're not seeing their increases in energy. What they're seeing is frustration. They're hungry. They're burnt out. And they want some pizza. That's what I'm seeing. And for good reason, because what's the point, right? What's the point of cutting out carbs to try to get into ketosis, or for the benefits of having a low carb diet if you're not achieving or receiving any of those benefits? I understand the frustration. And we will go through some troubleshooting, because that is the problem. The problem lies in the fact that they aren't actually in ketosis. And this isn't just about eating less and moving more. It's about allowing our bodies to work as they were designed. We need to clear out the junk, because there are so many things in our bodies from our environment, from our junk food sources, that are hindering the process. It's like our switch, our light switch that we're supposed to be able to flip back and forth from sugar burner to ketone burner. It's like it's broken. And we need to be able to get that fixed, because we need to be able to tap into this God-given gift of ketosis so we can clean out our cells. We need to be able to reset our metabolism. So let's do some troubleshooting. I've heard more than once someone say, I've tried keto, it didn't work for me. I just gave you an example of someone who's been eating keto-ish or eating low carb or doing the things that they think they should be doing and not seeing any of the benefits. But my first thought is when I hear someone say, I've tried keto, it didn't work for me, is to ask, well, in what way didn't it work? I need more specifics. One, what were your reasons for starting keto? How long did you try? What specifically didn't work? If you wanted to lose weight and you tried it for a couple weeks and you didn't lose any weight, well, okay, like maybe you didn't do it long enough. But let me share some of the biggest problems or the biggest roadblocks that people run into that I see when starting keto. Number one is relying on keto products. If you are starting a keto diet and you are just taking your diet that you have now and switching it over to everything keto, and you're having keto bread and keto pasta and keto friendly candy, that's not keto. Keto isn't just about taking the supplements or taking keto shakes or doing stuff like keto. You have to be eating real whole foods. Another thing is I've seen people try keto by just taking exogenous ketones. I know there was a company out there for a while just selling exogenous ketones as a keto diet. And this could have been someone's only experience. Like if any of this was your only experience with doing keto, and that's using keto products or exogenous ketones and not changing anything else, I will just say you didn't do it right. Like we need to try again. But exogenous ketones, those are things that come from a supplement that you take, and they can boost your ketone levels without having to follow a ketogenic diet, because your body can use ketones from an outside source. But the problem is that it's bypassing the metabolic process of creating those ketones within your body. So you're not getting any of those benefits that happen when your body makes the ketones. So you can still get an extra energy boost, you can get some mental clarity, but if you're not actually doing the things that allow your body to get there, yeah, you're not in keto. You're not going to experience the benefits. The other thing is overloading on too many veggies and too many fruits, because even healthy foods like fruits and salads can have too many carbs. I see this mostly if someone's counting like net carbs instead of total carbs, and I'll touch on that. But the flip side is also consuming too much fat. So since a lot of people think keto is just eating a bunch of fat, sometimes you can be having way too much fat, because it can be helpful to consume dietary fat just to get your body used to recognizing it. But once your body becomes efficient at burning fat for fuel, your body can then start tapping into your body fat reserves for energy. So the idea that once you've achieved this fat burning state, you don't really actually need to be consuming large quantities of dietary fat to stay into ketosis. And if you continue eating a lot of fat, your body's going to prioritize burning that dietary fat instead of using the fat stored in your body. So if your goal is to lose body fat, it's important to find that balance between where you're consuming enough fat to feel satisfied and maintain ketosis, but not so much that your body doesn't need to dip into its own fat stores. This way, your body can effectively use your stored body fat as the primary source of energy. Okay, and then for net carbs, total carbs, this can be really misleading. So I would advise, if you're going to try, stick to tracking total carbs. That way you ensure you know that you're staying within your goals. I have seen people tracking net carbs. Once you remove the net carb calculation, because it's like funny math. It's funny math to do the net carbs. Total carbs, once like calculated from this net carb thing, I've seen total carbs being 1 or 200. Yeah, you're not going to achieve ketosis eating that many carbs. So forget the funny math. Don't do net carbs. Do total carbs. And you'll have a better outcome. Snacking, this can be a problem. Frequent snacking is going to spike insulin levels. That's going to hinder your fat burning. So when you're on keto, you want to aim to eat just enough meals to avoid having to snack. The other thing that I see are people following old eating habits, like eating out of routine instead of eating to listen to your body. So if you're always having lunch at a certain time, you sit down and force yourself to have lunch whether or not you're hungry. So you're not listening to your hunger cues, and that's going to throw off things. You can end up eating more than you need. It can kind of just throw things out of balance when you're on keto, because your hunger hormones, all your hormones start coming back online. So when you are eating against them and just like eating in relation to your old habits or in relation to a clock instead of your actual body needs, that can cause some issues there too. Speaking of issues, like undiagnosed hormone issues, they really can make it difficult to get into ketosis. Issues like thyroid problems or adrenal fatigue, that can stall things when doing keto. It doesn't mean you can't do keto. It just means the approach just might need to be customized a little bit, and we might need to work through some other things first. It doesn't mean you can't or that it won't work. It just means we might have to tweak things a little bit. This is a huge one when someone is expecting instant results, because keto can work very quickly for people, especially in those who have a lot to lose and people who have a lot of inflammation. Keto can be very, very rapid at giving results in terms of water retention reduction, weight loss, pain, inflammation reduction. That can all be very fast, but sometimes it can take a while. Keto is not an overnight solution. It can sometimes take time to see significant changes. So you have to kind of be with it. It's one of those things you have to be consistent. The keto flu has some misunderstandings around it. Really, it's just carb withdrawals. It's not a sign that keto is dangerous. It's just a sign that you really should be doing keto, because if you're having keto flu, that is saying you're that addicted to sugar and glucose that you feel like crap when you get off of it because your body's that addicted. That's my take on it. I've seen people have fat phobia, fear of fat, especially my 80s babies, where we had fat fear coming out of like that diet culture where fat was bad. If you're afraid of eating fats, it's going to be harder to get into ketosis, because sometimes you have to have that higher fat intake to transition into ketosis, where fat is the main energy source. Not everyone needs to have a high fat intake to get into ketosis, but I will say sometimes you do. Sometimes you do. So that can be an issue. Not enough salt, that's going to be a problem for some people too. Keto causes your body to excrete more salt, so you need to be able to consume more salt. That's essential, because low salt is going to cause you to be tired. It's going to cause cravings. It's going to cause hunger. It's going to make it harder to stick with keto. Those are the biggest things I see, the biggest pitfalls. If you're doing keto right, you should notice improvements. You're going to notice increased energy, reduced cravings. You're going to notice decreased hunger. If you feel tired after eating, if you're having cravings, if you can't go long periods without feeling hungry, this is a good indication that you're not in ketosis, and perhaps you're not following the keto diet properly. The common mistakes, I went over those. A simple way to get started if you want to explore the benefits of ketosis is to just grab a plate. You're going to pick any meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, make half of the plate, load up on some low-carb veggies. I like to do a big salad. A quarter of the plate, you're going to pick a protein, whatever you like, preferably an animal protein. And the other quarter, the last quarter of the plate, some healthy fats. It can be some avocado or some olives. When you're just starting, it's helpful to incorporate some extra fat on there. Maybe if you are doing like a salad, make like olive oil be your dressing. Eliminating fruit is going to be helpful. That is still sugar. Only eat when you're hungry, and eat keto-friendly whole foods, not keto friendly packaged foods marketed as keto friendly. The most important thing to remember is that your body is not the same as mine. It's not the same as your best friend's. You'll know you have your macros and your micros right when your symptoms start to minimize and you're starting to achieve ketosis. I recommend getting a Keto Mojo, measuring. It's amazing. So helpful to test and actually know if you're in ketosis instead of guessing. It will save you so much time and guesswork. If you're struggling, a food journal, my body wisdom journal, that's going to offer valuable insights. You can consider asking for help if you're really struggling, because like I said, this is something our bodies are made to do. As we're wrapping up this episode, I just want to emphasize that the ketogenic diet is so much more than just a weight loss tool or a trendy way to eat. It is a powerful strategy for reclaiming your health at the cellular level. It's so great for restoring the metabolic flexibility that's essential for our bodies to function the way they were designed by our master creator, whether it's helping to reduce inflammation or support brain health or provide a pathway for detoxification. Keto, being in ketosis, it has the potential to be a healing force, and not just for individuals, but for our society as a whole. And we've touched on a lot of things today. We talked about how different cultures and backgrounds can influence metabolic health. But one thing that is universal is that our bodies are incredibly resilient when we give it the right tools. And ketosis, with its emphasis on whole, unprocessed foods and metabolic flexibility, I think it might just be one of the most effective tools we have for reversing chronic disease trends that we are seeing today. And so while it might not be the perfect fit for everyone at all times, understanding how to utilize ketosis as part of a broad approach to health could be not only improving our lives, like our own lives, but it contributes to a healthier world. So let's continue to explore this. Let's continue to learn and adapt these strategies to our unique needs, because the journey to better health, it is personal, but let's not underestimate the fact that it could also be global. Okay. And global doesn't have to, it can start small. It starts in our home, and then that can ripple effect in our communities. We can start small, guys. If this is something you'd like to explore further and need guidance on your journey, I am currently taking on new clients. So whether you're curious about how ketosis can work for you, or if you're looking to make broader changes to improve your health, I'm here to help. So let's work together to find the right approach for your unique needs. Let's take those first steps together. That's what I'm here for. So I thank you for joining me today. I hope you got some value out of this keto chat. Next week, join me on episode 10 as we are diving into the fascinating world of epigenetics. We're going to talk about how our lifestyle choices and our environment and even our thoughts can influence our gene expression. And it's a conversation you don't want to miss. Let's close out in prayer, and I will see you next week. Heavenly Father, we come before you with hearts full of gratitude for the pure foods you have provided and for the perfectly designed systems you have created within our bodies. We thank you for the wisdom and guidance to nourish ourselves in ways that honor the bodies you've entrusted to us. Lord, we lift up our nation and our children to you, and we ask for your healing hand to touch every corner of our land, bringing restoration and peace where there is division and pain. And we just pray for the next generation that they would grow up in a world that values health and truth and righteousness. And Father, we also come in repentance and asking for forgiveness where we have strayed from your ways. We seek your mercy for the times we have neglected the gifts of health and well-being that you've so graciously provide us. I pray that you lead us back to paths of wisdom and health, both physically and spiritually. We commit ourselves to living in alignment with your will and trusting that as we care for our bodies, we also honor you. And may your healing, wisdom, and peace flow through us and extend to all those we touch. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thanks for listening to Real Health Transformations. I hope this episode met you where you are and helped you cut through the noise, maybe get a little closer to the real practical solutions you've been looking for. Remember, everything shared here is for education and for inspiration, not medical advice. I am not your doctor. I am a podcast host. I am your encouraging digital friend. Always do what is right for you and consult a trusted healthcare provider before making any big changes. If you loved what you heard today, please subscribe, share with a friend, and let's keep having the conversations that matter without the fluff. Find me on Instagram. Let's keep this conversation going and keep questioning things. Keep finding what works for you. You've got this. I'll see you next time.